Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome back to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions. I'm Chris Santomassimo, your host today, and very excited to introduce my friend Paul Hudson for today's episode. Paul is the owner and the CEO of Hudson Printing in Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. Really, this is quite an honor. I'm really excited to be here and talk through some of the things we've already kind of discussed.
Me too. And as we talked about, Paul, what we like to do on the podcast is really share through highlighting companies like yourself. So I think what you're doing with Hudson Printing, becoming a differentiator really in the market, not just in terms of your marketing messaging, but your culture at the company and what you focus on as your core values. Those are things that lots of folks learn about, get ideas from, and in the case of some of the really strong sustainability efforts that you're engaged in, maybe it causes some people to go in the same direction. So I'm looking forward to all that sharing today.
Yeah, I really hope so. I think if anything, our industry is in transition, right? Oftentimes I say it's sort of chaos out there, right? From when I started, in the past, as a young person to now, it's almost unrecognizable what our industry is compared to what it was, and so I think to some degree, we represent at least a kind of a path through some of that, right? And we haven't succeeded in everything by any means, but we're certainly excited at where we're positioned now, right? And kind of what that means for us as a company and for our customers moving forward.
Well, I think that's a great way to put it. I would say that certainly the industry is constantly changing, constantly evolving, but the folks that succeed in whether it's printing or other industries are the ones that are at the forefront when it comes to new initiatives and certainly technology. So I really should be referring to Hudson Printing really as a technology company and a printer. When you say
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would do that. And actually, I will acknowledge a friend of mine, Charles O'Leary out at Zazzle. He's the first person who I heard say, we're a technology company that happens to print, right? And it completely reframed my thinking around that. And I think more of us should be talking that way because we do more than just put ink on paper. And I think that we need to embrace that because I think that helps us find new talent, find new people, find new customers, and deliver new and interesting products to the market.
Yeah, and those technology advancements not only attract good people to the industry to work in it, but they also make the lives of your customers a lot easier, a lot simpler, a lot more predictable, I would say.
If it doesn't, we've definitely miscalculated, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters.
For sure.
And I think if we're not thinking that way, then that's a significant problem. And yeah, my guess is we'll maybe talk about milkshake a little bit later on, but that's the core of that.
Perfect. Well, let's get started. Let's introduce the company, some of the history, which I think is really interesting about, what the company started as and what it is today and how it got there.
Yeah, thank you. I love that question because actually we do have some history and we have a really fun and meaningful milestone happening right now. So the company itself was founded in 1909, and it had two iterations before my father got involved, and my father bought the company in 1975 on April 30th. So literally we're 50 years and maybe 3 weeks old, something like that. So we just passed an important milestone as 50 years as Hudson Printing. And my father's big contribution was to kind of transition the business into web printing. And then my brother and I ran the business for 20 years, and our kind of role there, or our strategy was really just kind of more regional, bigger presses, bigger webs, more regional customers, et cetera. And then I started making a lot of noise about digital technologies. And my brother, who is older than I am, decided that maybe new risk and new investment wasn't the right path for him. And so In 2012, I bought his half of the business, and I set out on a path to build a digital companion business to our traditional web offset business. And honestly, I thought I had some paths, and I thought I thought it was going to be relatively easy. And to be honest, Chris, I'm not going to lie, it's been hard as hell. Like, it's been incredibly difficult to kind of like make that transition. And to be sure, we still run our traditional business, web offset business, magazines, catalogs. We like that business a lot. We have a great list of customers and do great work there. But we're also focused very heavily on a rapidly growing a digital business where we can differentiate ourselves and do what we think are interesting things and kind of be leaders a little bit in that market.
What are some of the digital aspects that you can add on to, or maybe even lead with your customers?
Well, to be honest, I think starting with the traditional side, I think what's incredibly hard there is differentiation. It's if I'm producing a magazine or a catalog, honestly, it's just not very easy to differentiate yourselves in that market. And so it's always been price driven. And maybe a little bit location driven because print is heavy, and so moving it around can be hard to do. But your differentiating tools there are just, hey, we do this a little bit better, or we're great at color, or we care a little bit more and do customer service, or maybe we can deliver a little faster, right? But those are a little bit difficult because it just often still comes down to kind of a price conversation. And so on the digital side, it's just we have so many new tools now. It's just it's insane what we can do in print now. And so being able to expand capabilities there, whether that's more vibrant, beautiful print on different substrates, we have presses that have expanded gamut, or being able to just react much more quickly, sort of like, tie the internet to your presses such that, you're at sleep and you didn't even know, orders arrived and they're already produced by morning kind of thing. So speed is a big differentiator, as well as embellishments. We're really excited about embellishments. And what we can do there to just make the print more vibrant and more dynamic. And then, add on top of that data, being able to layer and personalize data and make it be trackable with QR codes and, different kind of attribution technologies. So you combine absolutely beautiful print that you can do really fast, and you can, create it in with new technologies and add cool features on top of it. It's a fun time to be a printer. It's a great time to be a printer.
That's one of the things I love about printing is that it's a combination of all these different aspects that you find from other industries. It's a little bit artistic or a lot artistic. It's a lot about data. It's a lot about software. It's a lot about, speed to market, the ability to deliver accurately, all those things. But what I think is really exciting is the ability to layer the technology over the traditional part of the business. And you're doing that really well, it sounds like.
Yeah, so I'll give you just a little bit of a story. So when we started kind of in this digital journey, I mentioned it's been very hard. It's been circuitous. We've made good decisions, bad decisions about equipment and, kind of like markets we serve and all kinds of things. But we always sort of had a North Star strategy, and that strategy is exactly sort of what you described. So think of it this way, just a simple Venn diagram. And the first circle basically is print. So that's our medium, that's our tool, that's our, that's what we can deliver into the world. So anything we can do to make print more dynamic, more beautiful, and achieve its goal more effectively, we're in on that. So seven color or expanded gamut or new substrates or anything that just makes it more vibrant, right? Makes it different from the experience we have, on our smartphone. So we're in on all that kind of thing. But then you add, to your point, the second circle in that Venn diagram is data, right? So anything that we can do that personalizes or brings data to play to make that, that piece more effective for a customer. So anywhere where print and data interact, I think makes that print more valuable. And then the third circle in the Venn diagram, and again, these are all intersecting, is what I call digital. And by that, I don't mean digital print. I just mean the digital world. So anywhere where our print will interact with the digital world, whether that's an AR layer or a QR code or a, kind of an offline, hey, this is, I'd forgotten about this brand I love and I just got this piece in the mail and now I want to go online and I want to buy something, right? So anywhere where those worlds interact. is meaningful. And so again, going back to my Venn diagram, print, digital, data, anywhere where those three interact, that has been our North Star. That has been the way we make decisions, because we think that's where the print is most valuable for the customers. So that's why we're invested, in these, newest generation, highest capable digital presses. Why we've invested in embellishment. Why we, push our customers to be smart about their data and share so that we can make their pieces more effective. So, very much to your point, like as you layer that technology on top, we have the ability to take new solutions to customers, and that's just a lot of fun. I love doing that.
Yeah, because you're enhancing value at the end of the day for the customer. And
That's
are you
the
able
goal.
to take some of that data and prove the return on investment from a particular project or a particular mailing, particular catalog?
Yeah, and that's one of my strategic initiatives to do even better at that. But whenever we can, we absolutely try and do that data. And again, that could be regionalization or it could be a geographic targeting. It could be a personalized message. It could be getting something to somebody in their own language. So all those kinds of things. But an interesting thing, because I've mentioned embellishment a couple of times, is we actually been working with some of our customers and even with FSEA, the Foil and Specialty Effects Association, on trying to do some of that. So, for example, we last year we took a mailer for a car wash, actually, and we did one with embellishment and one without embellishment. And to be honest, it was a pretty good offer. So it got good return. The idea was, let's make it a good offer so people actually do pay attention to this. So that was just kind of a starting point. But so the base offer, so we produced equal amounts of both, sent them out, and then measured results. And the base offer actually got 12% return. So again, for a piece of direct mail, that's very high return. Again, because the offer was good. But with embellishment, it got over 16% return. So a remarkable, over 4% increase by adding, making this print piece more beautiful, right, and catch people's attention. So we love things like that because it becomes measurable, and then we can kind of help prove that attribution. Because that's always been the challenge in the marketing world, right? Is proving that it's working.
You must be constantly refining your target list of individuals that you mail to as well. How do you do that, and how do you refine it with some of the data that you collect after you've done a particular mailing?
Yeah, so there's obviously different ways to go about that. There are simple marketing lists. For example, we in some verticals that works really well, like real estate. Like, hey, I just need this area covered, right? So you have an EDDM tool, which to us sounds like, hey, this is kind of dumb mail, right? But for that purpose, maybe that's the right tool, right? Or it might be all around property values, or it might be around how recent a house sold or something. So like that, and that's relatively simple. Obviously, much higher level data, it requires partners. In our case, because if somebody needs a lookalike contest, or somebody wants really a lookalike list, or somebody really wants deep demographics around consumer behavior and such. So all that data is available. It can absolutely drive the print and make the print more effective. And that I think is the goal. I think in the past we've often, as printers, because we have big make-readies and things, we think, oh, well, it's going to cost a lot until you get to this quantity, and then it'll start costing a little less per piece. I don't think that should be our goal. I think our goal should be as effective as we possibly can with every single piece we print, even if that means less print.
Yeah, and I think that tracks the market too of direct mailers, because with postal rates going up as they are and the cost of inputs going up,
yes,
you got to be able to be hyper focused sometimes in terms of who you're reaching out to, so that you've got the required ROI.
Right, exactly right. And we have to be able to take those tools to make it easier. I think one of the real challenges in our industry still is just simply that buying print is still too hard. We have an incredible amount of jargon in the industry, and most people who need a piece of print, most people don't think they need a piece of print. Most people just think, I need new leads. I need people walking in the door. I need my, I'm a lawn care business, and I just need people to call me, kind of thing. And they don't want to go through the effort of, I don't know, I would need a designer. I need to, figure this out. I don't know who to mail it to. It just seems like incredible barriers. And I think that's honestly the frontier, the current frontier. And I think actually that is the single most important application of AI in our industry. Going forward is, I think, being able to bridge that to make print easier to buy, if that makes sense, and easier to just get effective results from.
Have you done anything when it comes to the technology to make that process easier for your customers?
Very, very deeply involved in thinking about that problem. So we have a technology partner that we're working with who's very much at the forefront of this. And I will tell you that it is now possible to make that bridge. It's now very possible for someone who just, again, has a small business, needs something, to be able to create something that looks great, that is effective, and get it in the mail very rapidly. Bridging that gap is, I think, one of our absolutely biggest opportunities in front of us.
Yeah, you talk about, I think what you're kind of saying, you've got big customers that have those capabilities, that could design their own artwork and their own pieces, but it's the smaller business or even the mid-market business probably doesn't have those capabilities, right?
It's incredibly daunting if you're a dentist or a lawn care company or something, right? And you think, I just need more patients. I just need more, people to call me so I can, take care of their lawns, right? They don't want to go out and hire a branding agency and a marketing agency and a data agency and they just simply want people to walk through the door or pick up the phone. And I think that we have just been a piece of that all this time, right, as printers. But you have to have already done all the other things in most cases, and some printers will have those capabilities in-house, those creative or data services in-house, right? And we have some of that. But it's still kind of a hard task, right? And so now I think that the world is moving so rapidly, and the two key features in my mind are, one, the democratization of design. So there are tools now to make the design so much more accessible. I mean, I've been in the industry forever, and I'm personally afraid of Photoshop. It's a hard, this is not easy to do, Photoshop or InDesign or any of these, right? But the democratization of design, I think, will have incredibly big impacts into our business, and they should be beneficial, right, for us. And then the second thing, again, is bridging how do I actually make that transaction happen? And I think the ability, again, to bridge from natural language to all of our printer instructions in 4/4 or 7/7 with, vector images and, all the jargon that we have as printers, being able to bridge that is now very possible, and you'll see that implemented this year.
Fantastic. Again, another differentiator. You're making your solutions really available to lots of different segments that otherwise wouldn't be able to take advantage.
We have to think about the buyer. We have to think about how are we effective and easy to work with, right, for our buyer.
For sure.
Our creatives, yeah.
Well, that's a great segue into some of the things I wanted to highlight about Hudson Printing and you. And, I mentioned early on in our session today that sustainability is front of mind for sure. Would love to hear some more about that. And you've got a couple of really interesting initiatives with kind of cool names, actually. Milkshake, Spark Plus, Loop, and TOPO. So go ahead and share in any order that you want, because, again, I think these are really important differentiators.
Okay, thank you. I love the question about sustainability. So let's start there. Sustainability is just incredibly important to me personally, and there's a long story around that. When I was in college, actually learning accounting of all things, but I definitely had a focus problem. So I was taking all these other classes, and my favorite college class ever was environmental biology. And we have, anyway, as an extension of that, I've always been really fascinated by our environment. And then understand also, I live in Salt Lake City. I'm in the mountains constantly, right? I'm skiing, I'm running, I'm mountain biking, I'm just enjoying this beautiful place where we live. And so those things together have always kind of had an impact on me. And then I've always been trying to kind of like balance that or reconcile that with the idea that my family business is printing, which, I think you have to acknowledge is a resource intensive industry. And so in my mind, that's absolutely the starting point, is that we have to acknowledge that print has an impact, right? That an environmental impact. And I think that if we pretend that isn't true, I don't think it does us as businesses any favors. I don't think it does our customers any favors. I don't think it does our industry any favors. So I think the starting point is just acknowledging it's a resource intensive industry, because from that point, then you can simply decide to make better decisions. Whether they're really big decisions like becoming carbon balanced, so we can talk about that, or whether they're smaller decisions like, hey, how do I take advantage of some government money to help me replace my inefficient lights for more efficient lights, or how do I start a recycling program, in my business or whatever. There are many steps, and you've never arrived. It's simply a journey. And so it's really important for us. And so I guess the ultimate expression for us on how to reconcile that has been that we decided a couple of years ago to become to fully carbon balance our own emissions. And so we went through a big long audit about our scope 1 and scope 2 emissions and the fossil fuels we buy, and where our electricity comes from and how that's generated, et cetera. And it hasn't been an easy journey, right? And it's expensive. But we feel like that's really important. It's just important for me personally. And to the point, we talked about before, I got asked just last week, I said, well, do you pass that on to your customers, or how does that work? And to be honest, we don't. What we do is it's a cost we bear, and we just simply because, again, we think it's the right thing to do. And but with the caveat that I certainly do hope that it attracts like-minded people. I certainly hope that brands who, also for whom this is also important, then think, hey, perhaps I should call those guys and see if, maybe they can help us do what we're doing. And that's exciting. So related to that is something that you asked me about, from one of our first conversations. We've launched a brand just barely called Sustainable Mail. We actually think we have the most sustainable way possible to send mail. And our goal there is to not make it expensive, not make it boutique-y environmental, but to just simply make beautiful print that we can actually, we can deliver very fast. With the most sustainable process possible, and to make it affordable, and so that's our goal there is with Sustainable Mail. And just to finish that thought, is just because you mentioned some of our initiatives, and we can talk about some of the others in a minute. But Loop is our environmental initiative that has our targets and our reasoning for wanting to become carbon balanced, and what is important for us in terms of the environmental, how we reduce and our impact. So I feel like I should take a breath there and see if you have any follow up, and if not, I can go right into some of the others.
No, I do. Well, let's just finish up on sustainability. As we were talking about before we hit the record button, there's a challenge there in getting people to follow you, but I think you have to start somewhere, which is leading from the front or leading by example. You hope that people that are hearing your message are eventually going to become more inclined to follow in the same footsteps. The price differential, at least currently, is a little bit of a challenge, I know, but
Right.
It sounds like what you're doing is also sharing some of that cost to make those more sustainable solutions more available and more widely used.
I will tell you that there are multiple ways, and we can just sort of adapt to what a brand wants to do. So we've been FSC certified just about as long as you can be. So FSC has always been on the table. And then how many of people take advantage of that? And there is a little bit of a price differential for FSC paper. And it's the same with carbon balancing. So for example, we carbon balance our own emissions as a production facility, not all of the paper that comes into us. So if someone really wants to do an entirely carbon balanced project, it's really cool because they can. We're the only place in North America that can print a logo that says carbon balanced print. And essentially, and this is a World Land Trust certification with some other partners. But essentially, what that means is if we carbon balance the paper and we're a carbon balanced producer, then we can fully carbon balance that process. And that's exciting and it's fun. And some people have taken advantage of that, and we've been excited to print that logo from time to time. I will say that carbon balance, when we partner with somebody to do that, we ask the customer to carbon balance the paper, and there is a little bit of a price difference there, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, and that's fine. So flipping to something that doesn't cost, then we have now, because it does cost a little bit more for FSC paper, we've also now achieved other certifications like PEFC and SFI, because with those certifications we can do it without additional cost to the customer. So if they want to show an environmental mark, and there are even USPS reasons to do that now, we can do that generally without adding any cost to them. If they want to actually kind of like go gold standard, then they can add FSC or they can add full carbon balancing. We make no judgment on which way people want to go, and we're excited if they even want to have the conversation, even if they ultimately choose not to do that. It still, I think, is beneficial, and I think it still moves the conversation forward.
Yeah, for sure. You never know where the seed that you've planted is going to grow, right? But at the
exactly
end of the day,
right.
right, it's got to grow somewhere, or maybe not. But you've obviously shown that it can grow. It's just a matter of finding the right amount of water and light and attention to make the plant grow.
And to be honest, I don't think we've done a good enough job at marketing ourselves in terms of doing this. But if we were doing it purely from the perspective of, hey, if this doesn't pencil, we're going to stop doing the carbon balancing or something like that. But we've made a commitment to that just because we think it's the right thing to do. We're certain that like-minded people will find us. And yes, we should do better at discussing that. So here we are talking about it. I like it.
Yeah, the more attention we can get on it, the better. I think it's first of all, I think it's a great societal goal, right? To have as little a negative impact on the environment as you can. That probably goes back to my Boy Scout days, where we have the leave no trace, concept, yeah. Right? But also too, from a brand and culture standpoint, I think it's important for Hudson Printing to have that differentiation. So I definitely applaud it for sure. Thank you. And beyond that, I think we stumbled on, some of one of the other initiatives that you have, which is Spark Plus, which is your color enhancement capabilities, right?
Yeah. So we call kind of our method of applying color Spark. And so our traditional 4-color method, our kind of recipe for that, we call Spark. And then because we have landed nanographic presses, we have the capability to do expanded gamut printing there, so 7-color. And so what we did is we wanted to be as absolutely honest as we could in creating a side-by-side comparison. So we took some images, and not crazy purples and oranges and things that are way outside of gamut. We just took some images, and then we printed them both traditionally, web offset, and nanographic 7-color, and then just presented them side by side. So same image, same crop, same processing, same paper. And then so you could visually see the difference. And we weren't trying to make this better best or good bad. The idea was just simply to show it. And truth of the matter is, if it's a image where the colors all fall within the traditional 4-color gamut, honestly, either works fine. Like there are some slight differences, but honestly, both serve the purpose. And we want to show that. There are certainly cases though where the expanded gamut is mind-blowing. It's just simply that much better. And then add that the nanographic benefits on top of that. And there are some things we can do that really, really are impressive and definitely show the difference. But that's what we wanted to do. It's just a teaching tool to help people make the right choice for whatever their project is.
Yeah, and I think people outside the printing industry don't really appreciate how much goes into matching a specific color or being able to print on media in a very specific color. And I think we
Yeah.
all know and can agree that color is critical for
Yeah.
customers as part of their logo and their identity.
Right. I once upon a time tried to implement a technology here where I thought that people would give up a little bit of color and quality for the benefits of variability, and I was just flat out wrong. I was just completely wrong, and I couldn't sell it, and it was a really, really painful lesson to learn. Like very good quality color is absolutely table stakes for our customers, in our market.
Yeah, you don't get through the door without
You don't.
being able to do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can talk about benefits on top of that if it doesn't cost too much or whatever, but but you don't even get the conversation below that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's as you say, table stakes for a printer for sure. And
Yeah.
and I think you also hinted at TOPO, the tactile enhancement
I love this
capabilities
one.
that you have.
Yeah, so Topo is kind of like one of my favorite children, I think. It's just so Topo. So again, understand I'm coming from mountain culture, right? So I love topographic maps. I love being in mountains. I love seeing contours and things like that. So when we saw what the new embellishment capability can do to enhance print, so creating layers of contour and effects and spot varnishes and foils and on top, and contours and things on top of foil and foil on foil and all these different things that we can do. I was just blown away by it. And so like for me, it feels very topographical. It feels like a topographical map. And so we have named, sub-branded kind of our ability to add embellishments on top of print. We call it TOPO. And so what we did is we created a marketing piece that first of all, it tells some topographical Utah-based mountain stories. And then it shows, so it tells the story in words, and then it shows print only, and then it shows the print with the effect on it. And then we also have a panel that teaches how the effect was created in design, because our intention is we want designers to have these tools. We want designers to know about these tools and know how to utilize them, because then they will create the cool thing and then we'll get to produce it for them. And so we call our embellishment capabilities TOPO. And so in creating this marketing piece, and I wish I should send you one. My end result in that is because I'm not really a creative person, but this kind of came out of my brain, and then I worked with a local, very talented local designer to put it together. But I thought, boy, creative people must be exhausted all the time. Like I'm just a business guy, right? But
Right.
truly creative people must be exhausted all the time, because that took so much out of me to kind of build this little project. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm proud of it. I think it's a remarkable piece, and it's been very well received.
That's terrific. And the one brand name that you've developed that caught my eye was also Milkshake.
Okay, I have to tell you the
think it's about
story. I'm sorry. So I'm a storyteller, right?
Don't be sorry. The story's great.
So yeah, and it's a quick one, and it's very applicable to what we've already talked about. So the reason it's called Milkshake is that I have a very smart marketing friend, and he was telling me about a Harvard Business Review study in the past. So something that Clayton Christensen, Harvard Business Review, Innovator's Dilemma fame, right? He was hired by McDonald's to come and learn why it was that so many people were buying milkshakes in the morning. McDonald's just simply didn't understand this, right? Why are we selling this thing that people would normally, we would think, eat in the end of the day? Why are they having it at breakfast time? So they hired him. He came in. They did a big study, and the end of it result was this: is that people were hiring that milkshake to perform a function in their life. So imagine like you've got a bit of a commute kind of thing, and like so you can grab a milkshake and you just kind of take a few sips, listening to your radio, you get through your commute a little faster. Or maybe you felt like, oh man, I get really hungry fast if I just have the pancake, so I'm going to have a milkshake, and then that kind of keeps me full longer, whatever. Like everybody had a particular purpose, a particular job that they were hiring that milkshake to do. So this marketing friend of mine said, hey, you know what, your business is no different. Like every single person that's buying a piece of print from you is hiring that piece of print to achieve a function in the world, right? It might be to fill theater seats. It might be to sell a car. It might be to give a person a peaceful place to thoughtfully journal their thoughts. It might be to preserve memories. It might be, to, again, sell a product. So every single piece of print was hired to perform a very particular function. And so ever since then, whenever I walk around the shop and I pick up a sample of whatever they're producing, whatever a customer has asked us to produce, I always think about that as kind of my milkshake exercise. Is I think, okay, I don't define it by its form factor. I define it by like what is the purpose this piece is hired to do? What job did the customer hire this piece of print to perform in the world? And I try to think about it that way. And then I also think about, well, how can we make that better? Is there anything we could take to that customer that would achieve that particular result better? And so that's our milkshake exercise. So that is why our funny little marketing piece is called Milkshake. So that's very much in line with kind of the comments you started our conversation with.
And
so thank you for asking.
Oh,
I don't always get to explain that because it's long and way out there, right? But I got a chance to explain it, so I like that.
It's funny. I think I read that an article about that study in Entrepreneur Magazine in the last couple of days, as a matter of fact. That wasn't the first time I've heard it. So
I would be very interested to see that, because after my friend told me, I had to kind of go and research and kind of like try and find information. So if you run across that, please send it to me.
I will. That's a cool story though, and what I think it also shows is that if you study, and you put data around, the whatever the business issue it is, you might be surprised what the outcome is, right? If you go into it with an open mind and evaluate, why is this good thing or this bad thing happening? What's it all about?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of us tend to sort of just take our own intuition and then leave it there, and just assume we're right. And sometimes we are. Like, I think intuition is valuable, but sometimes we're not, right? Sometimes we're not. And which is actually one of the beautiful things about digital print, right? Because you asked, how do we apply these tools? Like, man, if we're digitally printing something for somebody and we're not doing like A/B testing or something and then measuring results, boy, we're missing an opportunity. Or other type of testing, right? We have the ability and the tools to do that. We should take advantage of them.
For sure. Well, Paul, I got to tell you, we covered a lot of ground in a relatively short amount of time, but I knew it was going to be an interesting chat, and you did not disappoint. So thank you.
Thank you. You asked all the right questions. Like those were softballs.
I know.
Like not a hard one in the group. No, it was awesome. These are the things I love to talk about because these are the things I'm passionate about.
Well, I was just going to use the word passionate. You're definitely passionate about your business and growing and being a differentiator and maybe a disruptor in some ways. So congratulations on all the success. Talk about just where can people find you on the internet?
Well, we're hudsonprinting.com, working on changing up our website. Very excited about some concepts there that I hope you'll see by midsummer. And I'm on LinkedIn, trying to get better at posting, but I do get out there. But Hudson Printing in Salt Lake City. There are other Hudson Printings across the country, by the way. So we are the one in Salt Lake City. And then definitely look us up on LinkedIn or to our website, hudsonprinting.com.
Fantastic. Well, again, thanks for the great discussion. Lots of great ideas, lots of motivational ideas too. So I hope everybody that listens agrees for sure. And just to round it out for today, this has been Paul Hudson, who's the CEO and the owner of Hudson Printing in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I'm Chris Santomassimo, host of the Think Factory podcast. And we'll see you next time.